think of, well, for real, when I think of pedophile, I think like of a disgusting guy who gets a kick out of touching little kids and thinks it's okay.
Somebody who has issues, somebody has sexual attraction or fantasies with children.
When I hear the word pedophile, I think of a person who takes advantage of little children.
I think the creepy old person with the candy out of the van. That's what I think about.
Who engages in physical activities, sexual activities with younger children, and finds pleasure from that.
A pedophile is a person who violates children.
I guess in a sense, but I don't think it's necessarily an illness as opposed to like a series of events in someone's life that and the choices that they make that kind of get them to that point.
Not necessarily, no.
I don't think it's completely a mental illness.
And I think they should all go to prison.
If they're doing anything, then definitely, yeah, they should be locked up and kept away.
Definitely be submitted to counseling and be presented and informed on all the negative consequences that they bring on other people's lives.
You know, take care of what they need to do to change. They need to prove that, you know, they can change their lives, they can get rid of this habit, this addiction, and they should, so in that sense, they should stay in like a center.
Well, I think they need to continue to have their records available to the public so that families know where they are living to protect their own children.
I think it can be caused by past trauma and past experiences, and I think you can heal from those and you can change ways of thinking, you can change patterns of thinking.
Long time.
I absolutely think that they can be helped.
I think they have to want to be helped.
Dr. Paul Fedorov is a professor of psychiatry and director of forensic research at the Royal Ottawa Hospital. He also co-directs a sexual behaviors clinic. While some researchers focus on understanding deviant urges of sexual offenders, others focus on controlling them. Dr. Fedorov believes that the urges of sexual offenders can be controlled with a variety of interventions.
There are two major categories of medication that we use in the treatment of sex offenders. The first are selective serotonergic reuptake inhibitors, which are often abbreviated as SSRIs, and these are as well known as antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications. They also seem to help in controlling abnormal sexual impulses. The other group of medications are what we call anti-androgens, and there are a number of variations on anti-androgens, but they all have the end effect of reducing the amount of testosterone in the body. And it's that group of medications that tend to be subsumed under the phrase chemical castration. The basic theory behind it was that if testosterone is a sex hormone, then a medication that would reduce testosterone might have some effect on sex offenders.
Jesse is a 29-year-old pedophile. He's been treated by Dr. Fedorov for 2 years.
Hello there. Come on in.
For the past year, I've been on a medication which reduces my sexual drive to near zero. Prior to going on the medication, I was inundated with sexual deviant thoughts. After about 6 weeks, my deviant thoughts reduced to zero. It was a night and day sort of thing. And when they do come back now, I can easily push them out of my mind.
we put them on these medications, drop their sex drive down to zero, and then we help them to get into normal relationships that aren't based simply on sex, but are based on reciprocal emotional relationships that are healthy. Once they're in a healthy relationship, then we stop their sex drive reducing hormones, and they end up having sexual interests, but now in a healthy relationship.
2.5 years ago, Jesse was diagnosed as a pedophile with sexually sadistic tendencies.
My girlfriend was my first sexual encounter. I was 19, and she had a daughter. Shortly after my mother's death, I started abusing the daughter. It happened in total 3 or 4 times. The daughter eventually went to the police, and I was charged with several counts: sexual exploitation, invitation to sexual touching, and sexual assault.
Jesse was placed under house arrest, but it wasn't long before he started looking for a second victim.
My girlfriend was my neighbor. My neighbor on the other side was my second victim. So the victims were my neighbors.
During a routine interview with the police, Jesse's second offense was revealed. He was sentenced to 17 months in prison and underwent psychiatric testing. Jesse agreed to a radical course of treatment, chemical castration.
Since starting the chemical castration program, I've learned that sexual thought, sexuality in general, is just overrated. I don't need it. I don't miss it.
For some pedophiles, a chemical castration drug isn't enough. 60-year-old David chose a more drastic and more permanent course of action.
I don't think I was ever capable of being in a relationship before the castration. All my life I kept my sexuality a secret. I think that's part of growing up. You know, you feel that if people really knew, like especially later when I was older, when I was attracted to these teenage boys, I always felt nobody would like me, nobody would hate me. And I hated myself always.
The objects of David's homosexual fantasies became the altar boys in his congregation.
I was at the point where I was contemplating suicide, and then I came to Ottawa Hospital. I was diagnosed as a homosexually pedophile. I'm attracted to teenage boys. I knew it was wrong. I wanted to stop. I couldn't. From the very onset, it was wonderful. I felt I was in control. It's the first time in my life I felt free. At the end of 2 years, I decided that I wanted to be permanent. I wanted to be physically castrated. Do I believe that I'm cured? It's a good question, because I think in a sense that an alcoholic who doesn't drink, is he cured? I don't want to talk about being cured, but I know I believe that I will never be again.